Have you ever had an experience that completely shifted how you saw things? Not just in your mind, but in your heart? Hi, I'm Lohan, and welcome to my channel, Uncover Your Authenticity. Today, I want to share a personal story that transformed how I understand compassion. So, I've been facilitating breathwork since the early 90s. Around 1996, I had a breathwork client who, when I asked how she was during our conversation before a session, she said, "Oh, Lohan, I'm so depressed. I get home from work and I don't have anyone to hang out with, and I can't get out of bed. I feel so isolated and so alone." When I heard this, I said, "Do you know what you need to do?" She said, "What?" I said, "Do you really want to know?" Because I wanted to let her know my answer was not going to be easy. She said, "Yes." I said, "You need to scrape your freaking butt out of that bed, grab a book, and go out where there are people around. No one's going to come knocking on your door. You have to make yourself available for the universe." Now, back then, I didn't know how limited my capacity for compassion in that arena was, like to understand what her reality was and what she was going through. I consider myself to be a compassionate person, an understanding person, but I had never been a depressive person. I'd never experienced a depression. So I really didn't have the reality to understand what she was going through. It wasn't until about 10 years later, when I suffered a pinched nerve in my neck and was in tremendous pain for 3 months, that I truly understood. On top of the severe pain, I couldn't use my left arm fully because of a couple of important muscles were paralyzed: my pectoralis, my triceps. I wasn't even sure if my arm would ever recover. That was a lot to look at. And during that time, I felt depressed for the first time in my life. This experience was incredibly difficult and hard to endure, but it gave me a deep sense of understanding and the ability to truly empathize with people suffering from depression. I finally understood what people meant when they said, "I didn't want to be around other people, couldn't get off the couch, or even answer the phone." It allowed me to see just how debilitating depression can be, both physically and psychologically. After experiencing my own depression and reflecting back on what I had told my client, I realized that if I'd had this experience before my advice to her, my response would have held a completely different energy. While my words may have been exactly the same, they would have come from a completely different place, one of understanding, compassion, and empathy, and really knowing what she was going through, or at least being able to imagine it. That's why people who have gone through abuse or addiction are often the best people to help others who are still stuck in those realities. Remember, our own journeys, including our growth and the difficult process that brought us to where we are, can illuminate the path for someone else. Sometimes we feel ashamed to reveal that we're not perfect. We can be so afraid of being judged that we're only willing to show our strengths and never our weaknesses. But by sharing our stories, we offer validation and support, reminding others that they're not alone and that we're all in this together. Your experiences have the power to inspire and uplift those around you, creating a ripple effect of compassion and connection. So, whenever you're going through a difficult situation or a crisis, remember that it's not for nothing. Often, our hardest and most painful experiences are what ultimately equipped us to help certain people in ways we couldn't have imagined. Your most difficult experiences can become a source of great strength and a way to profoundly connect with and help others. Thank you for watching. If this resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who you think might need your support today. See you next time.